And let's talk about that hurricane season, right?
Yeah.
7 named storms so far, only 1 hurricane. You could say that we've been lucky, but that 7th named storm is expected to strengthen into our season's most likely 2nd hurricane.
Yeah, and as we watch that, as Gabrielle tracks closer to land, NOAA getting ready, it's hurricane hunters. Sofia de Solo joining us now. Sofia is the flight director at the NOAA Aircraft Operations Center. Welcome you in to Weather Command this morning, Sofia. So nothing really scheduled yet, but we are hearing about a possible mission that would take place tomorrow to get hunters into Gabrielle. I guess, what is the latest with that?
Yeah, correct. Our P3s are getting up and ready this morning to head out to Puerto Rico, where we'll be forward deploying to fly into the storm. And then the G4 and I will be flying out to Puerto Rico as well tomorrow, flying a mission en route, conducting some science into the storm tomorrow.
Need that science because, as we've seen with the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, Sofia, that coming in, it is going to strengthen into a hurricane. We could very well be talking about a Category 2 hurricane as it heads toward Bermuda. Give us some insight as far as these missions are concerned, because we often see how there are scheduled missions, but then last minute it seems they are scrubbed, they're canceled. What goes into this decision-making process as far as if you guys will or won't fly? Let's talk about with the P3s, because I think a lot of people know about the P3s.
Right, so we fly different kinds of missions. We fly both operational and research missions. Operational missions are flown for the National Hurricane Center, and these missions are flown directly for to improve the forecast and to help the forecasters at the National Hurricane Center. We also do research missions, and these research missions are specifically designed for us to get a better understanding of how hurricanes form, strengthen, weaken, and sometimes these missions, sometimes we're going to do an operational mission and then it changes to a research mission. Some of the issues that we encounter are maintenance issues. We have a great maintenance team, which is able to help us get these planes up and going quickly. But as you can expect, airplane flying through a hurricane can be pretty taxing on the aircraft. So sometimes we have maintenance issues, but overall, it's a very dynamic workplace, considering that our job is dependent on the storm itself, and as much as you can predict the weather, it's difficult to get an airplane in there. It takes a lot of logistics to get it up and going.
Yeah, I mean, you're flying into sometimes the strongest of strong when it comes to these cyclones. When it comes to the P3s, we've had some file video from a prior flight. That is it when you have, Miss Piggy and Kermit, one of the two that's going to be flying. Where was I going with this thought? I had a question and I lost it. It just, oh, I remembered.
It went away like 91L.
Yeah, it went away like 91L. But it was one of those things, Sofia, when you have to get these flights in position, right? Because the idea is that you take off, you fly into whatever storm you're flying into, and you make it back in one trip. So where would we have to get positioned with the P3 going into Saturday in order to make it into Gabrielle?
Right, yeah, exactly. So our missions usually last about 7 to 8 hours, but that includes a transit out to the storm, the collecting of the data within the storm, and the transit back home. So in instances of like this storm in Gabrielle, we have to forward deploy out to an island, typically in the Caribbean. This can be either St. Croix, Barbados. For this storm, we'll be flying out to Puerto Rico, where we're forward deploying, and this is where we'll begin our missions from. So our 7 hours will begin from San Juan, Puerto Rico.
And when it comes to making the decision to fly into storms, does there always have to be some sort of land impact within the purview? Let's say this thing was a little farther east, out into the middle Atlantic. It would be reasonable to assume that maybe the hurricane hunters wouldn't be flying for that operational mission. Is that a fair thing to say? And who ultimately makes that call?
Right, so highest priority storms are the ones that will be making impact to land. However, besides our operational tasking, we also do research, as mentioned. So even though the storm is far out and what some would call a fish storm, it is important to gather information and data just so we can better understand why these storms are strengthening or not strengthening or weakening or developing the way that they are. And the coordination is done well before we actually get onto the aircraft. So the coordination is done within the National Hurricane Center, the Hurricane Research Division, and scientists that give us tasking prior to us actually getting on the aircraft and flying out to the storm.
Yeah, you know,
Insightful, yeah.
it is, and no mission is going to be a waste. And also, hurricane hunters never really rest, because if you're not in the Gulf or in the Atlantic, perhaps you're in the Pacific, atmospheric rivers, that's when we'll see the Gulf streams. Those will take off and analyze those. So always working, but maybe not consistently jumping into these storms.
Deploying buoys, am I right? That
yeah.
also happens. That was, I think, a recent mission.
Mm-hmm.
You guys just drop them off in the Atlantic
right.
and say goodbye.
Yeah, we recently released, I think it was close to 50 buoys out in the Gulf.
That's right.
So that's correct, yeah.
Yeah, it's always working, always working. And we were showing video of Hurricane Milton, by the way, which was a powerful hurricane that created such a bumpy ride. They're not always that bad. That was one of the worst ones. But we appreciate you checking in, and everybody appreciates what you do throughout the season. NOAA Aircraft Operations Center Flight Director Sofia de Solo, thank you for joining us here on Weather Command.
Thank you for your time.